The Santa Sabina doors, I was very excited to see in
and
person.
the lights over the Tiber as we crossed the bridges,
I
and
just remember like
the throngs.
the scent of the oranges. And so when I think of Rome, I think of laughter, essentially.
Some of my best friends from college I found because of this trip that I took.
Even
to
the
Rome.
smallest things, the pasta we ate there, it was amazing. Or this was all of us
Since
going
we
out
were
one
looking
night.
at the city from antiquity to modernity, and then in Rome,
You're able to translate the sights you see into words.
Was absolutely blown away by the majesty of it all.
I feel like traveling in an active way is trying to find something specifically that you're interested in that you can experience while you're there, and I think we were doing more than tourism by being there, definitely just because we had so much knowledge going into it.
I now know you can read about things and you can read, oh, this is close to this and this is close to this, this was related to this. You know, as you're walking on your way to the forum, you'll see this, but it's one thing to read about it and it's another thing to see it in person.
It kind of instilled this love of traveling that stayed with me when I went abroad and inspired me to do other travel seminars through Skidmore. And just that experience of being in a different place and immersed in such a different culture is one that I just want to have again and again.
and so I find myself discussing Rome and its, minute inner workings when I'm talking about Athens, when I'm talking about London, when I'm talking about Boston. I can really interweave not only the modern knowledge that when my experience is there, but my ancient knowledge too, because the city itself has been alive for thousands of years. And that amount of experience and knowledge, how can it not be applicable to everything?
One of the central things I learned about Rome was looking at a city in a very different way from how you would normally look at a city. Each city that I go into, I think about those things that I learned, whether it be Albany, New York, or Hong Kong, or New York City.
Studying in Rome was really great because I had never studied before in a foreign city, and it was a kind of way to learn and explore in a place where you don't know the language. It was a huge bonding experience with the people I was with. We're all still close friends today. And it was also so much more real to talk about things that occurred in the place that they occurred. It really brought it all together.
It was great just to see everything that we would eventually study when we got there, and it helped give a lot of the background information that makes you more excited.
Just all of the different stuff that we had to learn that at the time was like, why do I have to learn this? But then once we got there, being able to, I just knew so much about Rome when I was there, and so walking around it, it felt like a home of sorts just because I knew so much about it.
And it allows you to be more than just a tourist. You are a traveler and a scholar and a writer at the same time in Rome.
Rome is just so amazing in terms of having all of these different layers. Being able to see all of them at once really opens your mind to a lot of cultural aspects that you can't find in America. And I thought it was fascinating to have all of the writing exercises that we did because we got to really focus on the creative aspect in addition to the academic.
We were writing about our experiences in the city just like we had read in class. So memoirs, like people on the Grand Tour. So we were contributing to the repertoire of work on Rome, like people's experiences.
This is the journal that I kept with me every day when I was in Rome, and made a point of writing, whenever I had a chance to catch my breath, sit down, kind of experience something. It taught me how to really try and be present in my environment and try and paint a picture with words.
Rome for me was inspiring because there are so many different sights and sounds and smells on every street corner. Everywhere you turn is basically a source of inspiration to feed your writing.
These are our lovely technological things that helped us be in contact with everybody in Rome. I don't know what they are called. Ciceros.
Is that what we called them?
That's not what we called them. What did we call them?
Devices.
Yeah.
Whispermophones! We called them whispermophones. We had to be very careful with them, and I should not be playing with it right now.
Yeah, no.
A great aspect of Rome that I haven't mentioned yet is being able to go and have your classmates teach you about, whatever their project was on each and every day. We would learn something new.
In Rome, I did my presentation on the Arch of Constantine.
I did my presentation on the Curia Julia, which is the old Senate house in the Roman Forum.
I did my presentation on the Piazza Navona, which in my opinion was one of the most beautiful open spaces that we visited.
In Rome, I presented all over the city because my subject was the talking statues of Rome.
In Rome, I did my presentation on the Aria Sacra de Largo Argentina, which is this open excavation site where there are 4 Republican-era temples. And it's also a place, kind of a sanctuary for stray cats.
My presentation was on the Basilica of Santa Sabina. The basilica is a early Christian church. It's from the 4th century, I think. And as soon as I stepped in for the first time, it just felt like such an intimate space to me. And I knew so much about the little details inside, the inscriptions on the walls, and the statues inside, and how the columns were actually adopted from a pagan temple. All of that made it an amazing experience walking through it. Having been able to study it in the weeks and months leading up to it was enormously helpful.
So how I prepared for my presentation of the Arapakis really began at Skidmore. I read a bunch of books, articles, and I really tried to dig into the history of the altar itself. I went online and looked at the architecture of the museum to see actually how it fits into Rome's modern landscape. So by the time I got to Rome, I knew the Arapakis, I knew that monument. And not only did I know it, I loved it.
Okay, the site that I chose for the Rome trip was a church, Santa Maria in Aracoeli, pretty much in the center of Rome. After doing all of the research for the whole semester, I just felt a really deep connection with the church before I even got there, that it was very much an exciting experience to be able to stand in the church and make the presentation.
While in Rome, I presented on the Piazza di San Pietro, or St. Peter's Square, which is the Vatican Square. And it was just very satisfying to finish what we had started a while back.
Meeting the Pope was incredible. At one point when we were visiting the Vatican, the Pope himself was actually going around. He was in his Pope-mobile and weaving through the crowd, and we were able to see him and take pictures of him.
And he just rode through and the entire crowd erupted with this cheer. And Kristen with her selfie stick got the best picture of the Pope because of the selfie stick.
I wouldn't say that I will be saved eternally now that I've seen him and received his blessings, but I felt the tangible presence of holiness while he was in front of us.
St. John's University, being at an actual school, being in the dorm while we were in Rome was actually very useful because it was a comfortable space. We felt safe there at all times. I think having that hub that was so comfortable was really nice because you felt like you were going home at the end of the day.
So Prati, where the college was situated, it was so close to the metro and essentially made all of Rome more accessible to the students.
I think Prati is amazing as a neighborhood. It's definitely less touristy than a lot of the other neighborhoods in Rome. And I think that's really important because we got an authentic Roman experience.
We actually found a spot, forget the name of it, but it was like caddy corner from our dorm. And we would go every morning. We loved like the barista there. It was just a nice tradition to all stand together, have our coffee and our Nutella croissant before we started the day.
It was great. It was pretty much my first introduction to coffee, and I'm glad.
And I think at the same time that it introduced me to coffee, it ruined me for coffee because I can't drink American coffee now.
And then it turned into a bar at night, same place. So the barista became the bartender, and it was like full circle. We started the day, ended the day, amazing.
My favorite meal in Rome was the tasting in the Jewish ghetto, and I really liked the artichokes.
There was a tasting menu. We had carciofi al giudia, which is Jewish-style artichokes, as well as cacio e pepe, which is a cheese and pepper pasta dish.
My favorite meal in Rome was a pizza that we had from Pizzeria Remo. Just this little hidden gem. I had mushroom pizza and it was spectacular.
Carbonara, spaghetti carbonara, something like that.
Long noodle pasta with octopus.
Lemon butter linguine that was just to die for. It was so good.
And I ordered gnocchi in this truffle buttercream sauce. I had had gnocchi before, I've had Italian food. I had never had Italian food before.
Oh yeah, we ate a lot of gelato. I think I had gelato probably every single day.
My favorite flavor of gelato was the pistachio flavor.
Probably raspberry.
The strawberry.
Nutella, absolutely.
Also, if you combine Nutella with strawberry gelato and champagne gelato from Giolitti, it's an otherworldly experience.
I would absolutely encourage any student who is on the fence about this course to just go for it and give it a shot. It was definitely, for me, was the best part of college.
I think I was unsure before going on the trip because I felt like everybody in the class would be a classics major and this would be like their real focus. But when I really thought about it, I was like, this is an amazing experience. And in my own head, even if I'm not doing design-based projects, which is my focus, I can think about that the whole time I'm there. I can admire that architecture. I can take a photo of some artwork that we saw that was amazing. So you can really gear it to yourself.
It let me be in that cultural environment that was so different from America, but at the same time, never really feel like I was completely out of place.
The people I was with and the professors just made it such a memorable experience for me. And you just can't beat Rome. There's no better place.
Having been to Rome, I realized that my liberal arts education almost culminated in that experience. And I would encourage anyone who is able to do this to go to Rome. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience that you may not be able to have again.
Spinner the other day was saying that we were singing all the time in Rome and being like rude on the buses, and I was like, that did not happen, no way. And then I remembered that we in fact did that a lot. But nothing bonds you like going to a foreign country. Suddenly you guys become friends, you become adventurers, you become discoverers, and you become a new person in some capacity. Like, Rome will add another facet to your life.
My best memory in Rome is probably when we went to the Villa Borghese and I saw the Bernini statues and cried. And then I remember you and Professor Curley walked into the room where the Daphne and Apollo statue was. And I was trying to keep the statue between me and you two because I was crying.
If I had to pick one moment, I don't know, maybe the last night that we were all there, we all went out to dinner as a group, and we were walking back from dinner, and we all threw coins in just a random fountain that we found at the same time, and we all made a wish, and I didn't ask my friends what they were thinking, but I have a feeling we were all wishing that we could come back to Rome and that the trip would never end because it was so much fun.